Hello everyone, this is Ayush Jha and today I am going to take a session on malwares and its related issues. Before we go into details about malwares, let us first see what are cyber attacks. A cyber attack is a malicious and deliberate attempt by an individual or organization to breach the information system of another individual or organization. Usually the attacker seeks some type of benefit from disrupting the victim's network. Cyber attacks hit business every day. Former Cisco CEO John Chambers once said, "There are two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those who don't yet know that they have been hacked." According to the Cisco annual cybersecurity report, the total volume of events has increased almost fourfold between January 2016 and October 2017. Common types of cyber attacks. Now, there are many kinds of cyber attacks, of which these are the most common types: malwares, phishing attacks, man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service attack, SQL injection, and zero-day exploit. Now let's move to our main focus of the day, which are malwares. Now first, we see what is a malware. A malware is a set of instructions that run on your computer and makes your system do something that an attacker wants it to do. Not you, but the attacker wants it to be done. The term malware is a contraction of malicious software. Put simply, malware is any piece of software that was written with the intent of doing harm to data, devices, to people. Now there are various kinds of malwares of which we will learn about later in this slide. Because the question arises, like, what is it good for? Like stealing personal information, deleting files, click fraud, steal software serial numbers, use a computer as relay, and crash a system. But these are things that are not good for a common person like me or you. But the developers or debuggers of new softwares tend to rejoice in these, like they have an opportunity to test their new softwares against the attacks of these viruses or check the vulnerabilities which their softwares have. Now there are different kinds of malware like virus, backdoor, Trojan horse, rootkit, scareware, adware, and worm. Let's see what is a virus. Program that infect other programs by modifying them to include a possibly evolved version of itself. It is just like a virus in a human body. When it enters the body, it attaches itself to the DNA of the cell and then replicates itself by taking information from your DNA only. Similarly, a virus in a computer attaches itself to a file and then replicates itself by evolving more and more by using that file. Types of viruses. There are two main kinds of viruses, which are polymorphic viruses and metamorphic viruses. Polymorphic viruses uses a polymorphic engine to mutate itself while keeping the original algorithm intact, whereas a metamorphic virus changes after each infection. Next comes a Trojan. A Trojan describes a class of malware that appears to perform a desirable function, but in fact performs undisclosed malicious function that allow unauthorized access to the victim computer. A Trojan malware seems like a normal file which can be run on a system to do any task, but in the code it has a malicious part, which means the developers write the code in such a way that it appears to be hidden within the normal codes and appears that it is right to run the software, but in reality when running the software it gives unauthorized access to the victim computer and performs some malicious actions in the computer. What is a rootkit virus? A rootkit virus is defined as a malicious concept, computer software hidden deep inside a PC and remains undetectable. Now, rootkit viruses are the most dangerous viruses because they are undetectable, mostly undetectable. Like they go and sit inside the master boot record or inside the system files, which are exempted from scanning by antiviruses. Attackers can have root access to the user's computer using a rootkit. Hence, rootkit viruses are considered extremely dangerous for users' privacy, and PC users need an anti-rootkit software especially for these rootkit viruses. Now, there are two kinds of rootkit viruses, bootkit virus and a firmware rootkit. A bootkit virus is attached itself to a boot sector and sometimes results in a boot loop, whereas firmware rootkits attach firmware and BIOS files. Next comes a worm. A computer worm is a self-replicating computer program or software. It uses a network to send copies of itself to other nodes in the network and do so without any user intervention. These are the most dangerous viruses as they can destroy your system in a matter of milliseconds. If a heavy, severe kind of worm is infecting your system, It can chew on all your data in the system and then the computer crashes automatically. And these are some kind of viruses which was developed earlier, of which Brain was the first ever virus to be developed in 1986, and its origin was in Pakistan. It was not meant to be of any destructive use, and it was developed as a research work by two brothers, Amjad Farooq Alvi and Basit Farooq Alvi from Lahore and Pakistan. Later in years to come, more viruses like Stone, Michelangelo, Form, and VCL started to appear in the market with higher danger ratings. Now, Happy 99 was the first ever email virus. It greeted you with Happy New Year 999 and emailed itself to all the contacts in your address book. Like the very first PC virus, Happy 99 did not cause any real damage, though it did spread to millions of PCs around the world. Now, Code Red, like first worm to spread without requiring user interaction, and it was kind of difficult to remove this virus and to detect it. Its origin is still unknown. Now, Love Letter was the first computer virus to reach the danger rating of 8. It was a computer worm that broke millions of hearts. Love Letter is still one of the biggest outbreaks of all the time. It spreads via email attachment and overwrote many of the crucial files on the PCs it infected. It was developed in Philippines in the year 2000. Frizzer was the first virus designed to make money. It was designed in 2003 and its origin is still unknown. It arrived as an infected attachment. Once opened, it took over infected computers and forced them to send spam. Stuckness was the largest worm, about 1,000 times larger than a typical computer worm, which is still being developed right from 2010 in US and Israel. Now, this is a trend line of evolution of IT threats and malware over the last 2 years, from 2017 to 2018 ending. Like, we can see clearly how the virus production have increased over the past years. This was the malware partition in the market. Like, Trojan covers 80.77% of the market, the largest portion, and then comes a worm, and then a virus, and then adware is spyware. Now, there are different methods by which viruses infect the systems. Now, we'll discuss some of the methods, but first we should know what kind of files are infected by a virus. Executable files, interpreted file, kernel files, service files, MBR, hypervisor. These all files are susceptible to attack by viruses. Infection method that first comes in mind is overwriting malware. And overwriting malware is a virus is one of the most dangerous kinds of infection method, in which the only program code is overwritten by the malware code, by the malware itself in the system memory. It is the most dangerous kind of infection, as it can bring down large systems in just a matter of milliseconds. Now, another infection approach is prepending malware. A prepending malware is kind of infection scheme in which a virus code attaches itself to the front of the file. The original file stays intact, which makes disinfection possible. To hide the infection from the user, the prepending virus executes the host file example by copying the host file as temporary file to disk and using a function called like system to run the host file. Appending malware. Appending viruses write their own body after the end of the host file and modify a jump instruction at the beginning of the host file to point to the virus code. The appending virus typically passes control back to the host file again after it has done its task, so the user does not get aware of the infection. Cavity malware. Cavity malware first analyzes the code of the file and searches for any caves or any garbage zeros or any useless parts of the code, so that it acts as a cavity for the virus to go and sit there. An example is the cave between the file header and the actual start of the file. If a virus infects this cave, it is called header infection. Viruses that infect a single cave must be small enough to fit into them. The cavity virus may save the original entry point of the host file and pass control to the host file after it is done. Packers. In order to prevent the reverse engineering of malicious software program and to hinder the analysis of the program's behavior, malware developers may compress or pack their malicious programs using a variety of methods combined with file encryption. Antivirus programs detect the results of the actions of suspicious packers, that is packed items, in later or newer versions. There are ways to prevent packed files from being unpacked. For example, the packer may not fully decipher the code only to the extent that it is executed, or the packer may only fully decrypt and launch a malicious program on a specific day of the week. Now, how suspicious packers can impact you. We talked about suspicious packers, which are objects that have been compressed using packers that are designed to protect malicious code against detection by antivirus products. But multi-packed are the files that have been packed several times using a variety of packers. This makes it even harder for an antivirus system to detect a virus, and thus it results in breakdown of the system. Rare packer files that have been compressed are packers that are rarely encountered. For example, packers that demonstrate a proof of concept. And let's talk about some of the viruses which are in the market. The first one that comes to mind is AutoStart. AutoStart is the first and only Macintosh worm. It originated in China, managed to become pre-installed on a number of series from software vendors. When a disk infected with AutoStart is mounted on a Power PC, Mac running QuickTime 2.0 or later, the worm or file named DB is launched. It is a hidden application file with the creator list as question marks. It copies itself to the extension folder. It changes its name to desktop hint spooler, a file which will also be hidden. AutoStart and restarts the computer. Autorun. Autorun is another virus which came into existence as the developers saw how widespread is the use of flash drives nowadays, memory cards and external devices also. It attaches itself to the flash drive and infects users' computers when the user opens the flash drive in the Explorer. Rootkit viruses. A rootkit is a type of malicious infection which targets the master boot record located on the physical motherboard of the computer. Attaching malicious software in this manner can allow for malicious program to be executed prior to the loading of the operating system. The primary benefit to a rootkit infection is that it cannot be detected by standard operating system processors because all of the components reside outside the Windows file system. Rootkit infections are on the decline with the increased adoption of modern operating systems and hardware utilization like UEFI and secure boot technologies. Now, how do viruses and malware propagate nowadays? Using shared folders in any cafes or public Wi-Fi where you are using shared folders, you may have a chance that a virus have infected your system. Email propagation. Most of the viruses are propagated using emails like spam mails and all. Valentine Day messages or mails, email again. Fake antiviruses. There are antivirus softwares in the market which generates viruses on their own. They infect the system and then those viruses can be removed only by the specific software designed by that virus making company only. So they are making money by selling viruses and then selling their antiviruses to attack them. These are fake antiviruses and we should be aware of them. Now, some of the viruses hijack the browser also. Fake pages and peer-to-peer file transfers also causes infections. A backdoor. In any of the system, a backdoor is created by a developer for any kind of troubleshooting or any other debugging purposes. However, attackers often use backdoors that they detect or install themselves as part of an exploit. In some cases, a worm or virus is designed to take advantage of a backdoor created by an earlier attack. Ransomware. Ransomware is the newest form of malicious software that came into existence in 2010. It is a malicious software from cryptovirology that threatens to publish the victim's data or perpetually block access to it unless a ransom is paid. While some simple ransomware may lock the system in a way which is not difficult for a knowledgeable person to reverse, more advanced malware uses a technique called cryptoviral extortion in which it encrypts the victim's files, making them inaccessible and demands a ransom payment to decrypt them. Ransomware attacks are typically carried out using a Trojan that is disguised as a legitimate file that the user is tricked into downloading or opening when it arrives as an email attachment. However, one high-profile example, the WannaCry worm, travel automatically between computers without user interaction. Starting from around 2012, the use of ransomware scams has grown internationally. There were 181.5 million ransomware attacks in the first 6 months of 2018. This makes a 229% increase over this same time frame in 2017. How can I protect our systems from malwares? Before we go to protection of the system from malware, let us see what are the symptoms that show computer is infected. First one is your computer is running extremely slow. It might be a case that you have a large amount of dump files or temporary files in the system. That also slows down your computer, but in most of the cases it is done by malwares. If your computer has been infected by a virus, worm or Trojan, they could be running tasks that take up a lot of resources of your system, making your computer system run more slowly than usual. Then unusual pop-ups. If you are using a system and suddenly a pop-up comes up without your intervention, it may be a virus. Your computer has gone unstable, like unusual shutting down or restarting of the system, crashing of the system, suggests that a virus has infected your system. Your antivirus and firewall protection is unexpectedly disabled. If you have not disabled the antivirus system and yet it is disabled, it means malware software has disabled it on its own. Unfamiliar and peculiar error messages that has not come to your system ever before but is coming now, can suggest that your system is infected. Now let us see how to prevent malware infestation. First and foremost, install antivirus and malware software and keep it updated. And antivirus or malware software can bring down the risk of infection to about only 2%. There are powerful antiviruses in the market like Avast antiviruses, Quick Heal, AVG that provides free and powerful virus prevention. Their definitions are up to date, and if you keep your antivirus software up to date, your system will be free of viruses. Now, another point is we should run scheduled scans with our antivirus software regularly. That is, at regular intervals, we should scan our system for checking for any vulnerabilities or any infection that has gone into the system unknowingly. And next point is we need to keep our operating system current. The Windows, Mac OS X, Linux or any other OS do send security patches in updates, and thus we need to update these systems. Like in Windows, it has closed down its support for Windows XP and Windows 7. So we should update it to latest version of Windows 10. If not, then we are vulnerable to virus attacks. We should secure our network too, so that viruses can't access our files through the network. Now, think before you click. Whenever we click on any attachment or any ad, we must think before, like which site we are going to be redirected or what kind of file it is going to download. We must check before we do anything stupid on the internet. So with this, we come to the end of the session. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something about malwares. I'll see you in the next session.